Now, regarding my brother Jim, I'd like to say this about Jim. He was 17 months younger than I was. Jim, he had a very good singing voice, and he was very good at baseball. He could pitch the ball, and he was a lot better hitter than I was, and it was just better at those sort of things than I was. And he was a very good worker, and he could keep up with me. He was good, but he also knew how to get to me. And so since I was the oldest, he knew how to kind of, how that goes between siblings. And next thing you know, I would smack him one. And Mother would see me smack him one. She would never see him goading me on. So consequently, he would outsmart me. And I would take the blunt of things. But Jim was a very good missionary. We both went to the British mission, and I remember the mission president let me meet him when he arrived in Southampton, and to meet him there. I had just a few months left to go on my mission, which was a very nice thing. And he spent a great deal of his time in Scotland. And there was a group of people that he met that were deaf and dumb. And Jim had the resourcefulness to learn that language, to be able to talk with their fingers, with their fingers. And he ended up converting all of them by able to talk with them by learning that language. Now that's quite an amazing achievement. And he was written up in a few magazines over there, as well as here. And I think Jim was really gifted, and his gift was teaching. He was a natural-born teacher. He had enthusiasm, and he loved it. But what he really wanted was to make money. And that was, I think, the mistake in his life. He could make enough money teaching. He married a very beautiful girl and very popular girl in high school. She waited for him. She became a nurse. My wife waited for me, and she became a nurse. And then my youngest brother, Lee, his girlfriend waited for him. The girl he married was a nurse, so all three of us boys married nurses. Of course, I married the most beautiful one of the three. But I'm convinced of that, through and through. But in many ways, she was just beautiful. Jim is the kind of a person to walk in this room and you'd like him that fast. He was magnetic and a lot of personality. But he was not, the Constitution wasn't there to be an entrepreneur. Very few people should be an entrepreneur. It's too hard. Only 1 out of 10 succeed. And I've read these figures. I've read where it's 1 out of 8, but I've read also 1 out of 10. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal. And so it's very, very difficult. But finally, he gave up that, trying to be an entrepreneur. It didn't pan out for him. And he ended up teaching. He was sensational. He loved to teach history, and he loved to teach English. He was extremely well read. And he was, as most farmers were, as we explained last time, were and are Republicans. And that's because of Abraham Lincoln, with the Railroad Act and the Homestead Act that he put through, Lincoln put through, which literally settled the West. And those people who homesteaded all were grateful to Abraham Lincoln for that. So that gave birth to the Republican Party, and he was the first Republican president. And furthermore, he was one of the original founders of the Republican Party, was Abraham Lincoln. But Jim was, to me, fascinating to talk to, because I could ask him a question, and he could just take off going. And he'd always have something to say. And I think we got along pretty good. I don't know whether he really liked me. If you want to know the truth, I think he liked me, but I don't think that I was the best company for him. But as kids growing up, we had a lot of fun, because we had a canal that went right through the farm. And we would swim together, and we'd do all these things together. We would work together. He was a very good milker. He carried his weight in terms of the work. We had an orchard. He was great at picking the apples. We made our own apple cider. He was good at that. Jim was a good worker, a hard worker. And he, of the family, was the only one that got a degree. I don't have a degree of any kind. My brother Lee, the youngest, does not have one, and my sister does not have one. But Jim has a degree, and he got it from the University of Utah in teaching. So we got to take our hats off to him on that one. But I just got so involved in business so early, and I was so successful at it. I didn't have time to stop. I was overwhelmed with responsibility. I had to keep going. And so it is. I don't know what else to tell you about Jim. I thought he was a very good-looking guy. And one thing he loved was to cook. He took cooking seriously. He always wanted to own a restaurant. And he came to me to help him finance that restaurant. But my common sense told me that restaurants, very few make it. I don't care how good you are. Very few make it. It takes timing. It takes the right location. It just takes the right combination. And it's just one of these things. It's a very risky thing, because it's an easy entry. It's easy to get into restaurants. And therefore, there is an overpopulation of restaurants. So you're going to have a certain amount of lossage in that. It's just the reality of it. And so my common sense just told me, Jim, as much as you love to cook, just cook. But don't try and make a livelihood out of it, because it could cause you great grief. You're a natural teacher. Christ was a teacher. Be a teacher. That's a wonderful profession. It's a wonderful thing. You can change people's lives. You can influence people.